The following is a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.
Race fans from all over have descended on Chicagoland Speedway as an IndyCar champion will be crowned today. 1 point separates the two Team Penske drivers, and Team Ganassi trails by only 21 markers. Today we go 200 laps to get to the end of the season. Tonight, one driver will be an IndyCar champion. It all comes down to this: 4 drivers, 2 teams, 1 champion.
And you ask me what I want this year, and I try to make this kind and clear. Just a chance that maybe we'll find better days.
At times, it's been a brutal season for veteran owner Roger Penske. And a once dominant target Chip Ganassi team has not won a championship since 2003. The race today results in a championship tonight, where one owner seeks a return to glory. The other seeks his first series championship. Live from Chicagoland Speedway, it's overcast, but we're getting ready to go racing the final race of the 2007 season, the Peak Antifreeze Indy 300, presented by Mr. Clean. The forecast calls for showers, but so far it looks like we're going to get this race started on time as we welcome you to Firestone Race Day, where we'll get you caught up on the entire championship scenario. Take a look at the 2006 point standings. The top 4 separated by all of 21 points. And as you look at those 4 racers, 3 of them have won championships in the IndyCar Series. The one that hasn't is the man who's leading the points, Helio Castroneves. Helio Castroneves takes the win. Spider-Man does it again.
Well, Helio, after 6 months, 13 races, and over 2,000 laps, it all comes down to one day and one race for one championship. What's the key for you to leave here today as an IndyCar champion?
You know what? I'm going to have as much fun I can. I'm going to race with my heart, passion, what I do, you know, and I hope it'll be the day. If it meant to be, it will be.
Roger Penske's all about teamwork, but at what point today do you and Sam Hornish stop being teammates and start being ferocious competitors?
I hope not. Obviously, the first 100 laps, we have to be smart. We have 2 other guys also battling for the championship, so we need to work together until that. But I think the last 50 laps, the last 40 laps, you're going to start escalating the nerves, and you'll be a great show.
Hey, good luck today.
Thank you.
Hey, win or lose, Helio Castroneves and teammate Sam Hornish already have a lot to celebrate this year.
Happy birthday, Sam.
For Sam Hornish Jr., that Indy 500 win was the missing piece in the puzzle, but I wonder, Sam, a 3rd championship, where would that rank?
Maybe we start a new puzzle. I don't know. This has been pretty much an unbelievable season for us to be able to win the 500, to come into this last race of the year with an opportunity to win the points. I can't really put into words right now what it would mean to win the championship. I'm out here with a bunch of great competitors, and especially today against 3 guys that are going to be extremely tough on this mile-and-a-half oval. Haven't ever seen 4-wide racing, but maybe that'll happen here before the end of the day. These guys are all being pretty aggressive, and hopefully I'll make the right decisions to bring Marvel Team Penske a championship.
Good luck to you, Sam, but I want to know, when the fact that you're chasing people for a championship, it's one thing. When you're chasing your teammate, it's another. How does that dynamic come into play today?
You know, basically the same things, except you know, you don't ever want to go out of the race, but you really don't want to go out of the race with your teammate. So you know, we're going to try to be as smart as we possibly can today, and make sure that we both make good decisions, and hopefully we'll get out of here with a victory and a championship.
That's Marlboro Team Penske 1 and 2, but there are 2 other red cars in the chase for the championship, led by the defending national champion.
Just how quick the laps fly by. At the stripe, it is Weldon!
Well, the last time we saw Dan Weldon in Victory Circle, it was the first race of the season. Here we are, Dan, the last race. How important is it for you to cross that finish line first?
Well, first of all, do you like my attire for this?
Yes, you're looking marvelous.
Pretty special, huh? It's obviously very important for me to win this race if I need any chance of winning the championship. And you know, that's what I'm going to have to do. There's been a few races we've just had that I've had to be careful to keep myself in the championship chase, but I'm not going to be doing that this time. It's all out.
Well, you can hear Dan Weldon under the weather a little bit. He'll be battling that flu as well as the Penske's, but he also has to beat his own teammate, Scott Dixon.
It will be Scott Dixon. One last shot for Weldon. He won't do it.
Well, Scott Dixon, of the 4 horses in this race today, you have the farthest to go. You're 21 points back. You know, what kind of risk are you willing to take today to win it all?
No, I think, you know, it's not so much risk. It's just we've got to be aggressive. We've got to try and lead laps. We've got to stay near the front. Both of the 2 target cars, you know, we're 19 and 21 points out. So we've got to push as hard as we can without crashing, obviously, and try and take the win from the Penske's and hopefully get the bonus points, and maybe we come away with it.
Hey, good luck to you.
Thanks.
Marty, it's not far-fetched that Scott Dixon could begin this day 4th in the points and finish it as an IndyCar champion.
Not far-fetched at all, Doc. Take a look at how points are scored and notice the difference between just 1st and 5th. A total of 20 points. And remember, you get 3 bonus points for leading the most laps of the race. And that could happen today for sure, playing into the championship chase. Let's bring in Scott Goodyear, Rusty Wallace. You can feel the pressure. You can see it in their faces down there.
Marty, you can feel the tension down there. These guys are so nervous. They're aggressive. They're ready to go. And let me tell you what, they can't hold back at all. These top 4 guys, they got to stand on the gas, drive with reckless abandon, because they're going to have to do that to win this championship.
And we also have seen already that this is going to be a contact sport. It happened yesterday.
It did in the very first session. Both the Ganassi and Penske cars were out there banging wheels. But you know something? I don't think the Penske guys can actually change their driving style. They can't lose their rhythm. They have to find the balance between aggression and also the patience. And you know something? A Penske car has never won here at the Chicagoland Speedway, and they might have to do that today, guys, so they can win a championship.
Well, there have been 13 prior races to get us to this point. A lot of agony, a lot of ecstasy. The IndyCar season is green. At the stripe, it is Weldon.
It's time for the 90th running of the Indianapolis. Horse stops the car.
At the stripe, Horse wins. You see the sparks? That's just how quick the laps. Elio Castroneves takes the lead.
I have never seen Elio Castroneves this frustrated.
Hey, boys, that's for you guys.
Major problems with Scott Dixon.
We gotta try to go on the way. Yeah.
The 19-year-old is going to win.
Andretti headed to victory lane. Well, just 2 weeks ago, young rookie Marco Andretti made history, becoming the youngest driver in open wheel racing to win a race. The celebration continued when he went to his hometown in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, where all the neighbors put up posters and signs congratulating him. His mom, Sandy, said it was very reminiscent of when his father, Michael Andretti, raced. The whole town got together in celebration of the Andretti family. But today, it's back to reality. Marco Andretti starts 14th. Marty?
Well, that was certainly a favorite moment for the Andretti family, and I think I know where your favorite might be, Dad.
Well, definitely my favorite moment for the Andretti family was definitely at Sonoma, Michael Andretti watching his 19-year-old son Marco win for the very first time, very, very moving. And yesterday, my son Steven won here at Chicago in the ARCA race. That was very moving to watch that race too. So as a father, and both having 19-year-old kids, it's pretty moving. But you know, Sonoma was my favorite.
And what about you, Scott?
Has to be the finish of this year's Indianapolis 500. Oh, so close for Marco Andretti. I was on the losing end in 1992 with Alonso Jr. and I watched the finish here this year between those two guys. I felt what they were doing actually out there in the racetrack, that last moment, that last lap. So I think that finish has to be my favorite this year.
Well, as I look to the clock and realize that we are just minutes away from the 14th and final command to start engines, I flash back to the very first race, to Homestead, because it was bittersweet. Oh, so sweet, because you had those side-by-side laps at 200+ miles an hour between Elio Castroneves and Dan Weldon with that super close finish. But it was also bitter because we lost Paul Dana that morning in a horrible practice crash. Paul's legacy, though, will be the fact he brought competing companies in the ethanol production pipeline together, and next year every Indy car will run on 100% ethanol. We remember Paul Dana today, and will again next year, each time the command is given to start engines on 100% ethanol. And back here at Chicagoland Speedway, we are just moments away from the command to start engines here in the final race of the 2006 campaign. Remember, it is overcast. The weather could play a factor. No one's going to be able to go slow today because officially this race could end at lap 101, just one lap past halfway. Will we go the distance? Stay with us for the next 2.5 hours. Let's go trackside.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
So the engines have come to life here as we put a period on our final Firestone race day, as we are now getting ready for the final start of the 2006 IndyCar campaign with everything on the line. Let's take a look at our ethanol track conditions as the engines continue to warm up. Temperature's a little bit on the cool side here, guys, as it is an ambient of 67 degrees.
Much cooler than it was here yesterday during practice. And the other key thing, too, all the rain last night has washed all the rubber off the race circuit. All these drivers will be out here starting fresh today, Rusty, and they're going to have to barely watch their car in the first couple of laps.
This track's going to be different, though, Scott. We've had the Infinity Pro Series race yesterday, along with the ARCA race yesterday, that really muddied the track up with rubber. Now we've had a lot of rain. I expect the tracks to be fast, but be a little slick also. It's cool, like you've said.
All right, let's take a look at our peak antifreeze starting grid. You'll see the positions across the top of your screen, and while that occurs and the cars go out on the first of the pace laps, let's also show you our 7 onboard cameras. That's right, we've got 7 for you in today's race to cover all the action. Take a look right there, and that is the number 5 of Sarah Fisher. Sarah will be starting in the number 16 position. We've got the low cloud cover. That's why you're seeing a little bit of breakup. Our helicopter can't get quite as high. There we're on board with Danica Patrick. She will start 15th today. Move a little bit further forward in the field, and you'll pick up in the number 26 car, Marco Andretti. Won the last time out, but he'll start 14th today in the final race. A little farther forward in the field, the number 17, Ethanol Dallara. Of course, that is Jeff Simmons that we're riding on board here. He will start in the number 10 position. Then also moving further forward in the field, Vitor Meira, still looking for that all-elusive first win. He has 7 career second-place finishes. He starts 6th today. Could he play the role of spoiler and get that first win? We'll find out. And then we also have on boards with the number 10, as you see out the back there with Dan Weldon. He is starting in the 3rd position. And we also have one on his teammate's car, Scott Dixon, the number 9 target, Chip Ganassi Racing. Let's check in on pit row for final updates. Jagaroot?
Well, let's check in with Roger Penske. Roger, what were the final words of wisdom you gave to your 2 drivers?
I said we don't need to race the first 30 laps. We need to be there at the end. You know, it's going to be a great race. Reliability, patience is going to pay off today.
Jerry?
Well, Chip Ganassi has lived this day many times before. He has 5 open wheel titles in his belt. Hey, Chip, how did your guys win this championship today?
Well, Jerry, I mean, it's pretty simple. We got to lead the most laps, win the race, and squeeze some cars between us and those Penske cars.
All right, the Target Ganassi guys are on a mission, Jamie.
Well, Doc, we're about to see one of the closest races. I have a feeling Chicagoland Speedway has hosted some of the closest finishes in IndyCar Series history. The closest ever coming in 2002 with Sam Hornish Jr. He beat Al Unser Jr. by 2/1000ths of a second. Guys, today we're going to see wheel-to-wheel, 2 and 3 cars wide from start to finish. And oh yeah, there's a championship on the line with 4 drivers in contention. Marty, we all better sit back and enjoy this because it's going to be one of the best of the year.
On the backstretch for the final time before we go green. And remember, we talked about this. Does this change strategy as we get ready to go here with the threat of rain?
Absolutely does. People actually change their strategy for fuel mileage. You have to make sure that you are around there, out in the racetrack, in a great position around lap 90 if it might go only half distance.
Pace car with Johnny Rutherford at the wheel, pulls down below the line. And the battle for the 2006 IndyCar Championship is green. Coming out of turn 4, the Target Chip Ganassi team hooked in tandem 1 and 2, and they are trying to pull away already.
Marty, it's championship time right now. We saw this yesterday in practice. These guys were driving harder than I've ever seen them drive in my life. As you see them passing each other right now for the lead. Chip Ganassi says, guys, dominate, lead all the laps, take everything.
But you think they would actually follow in behind each other, because right now they're poking a big hole in the air with 2 cars side by side and just allowing the Penske car, Sam Hornish, right now to get a great run.
But you can see right now there's no team orders, guys. They're going.
They touched right there, the Ganassi guys.
And you don't want to do that early in the race with these Indy cars. When you're banging wheels, you risk a chance of hooking a tire and having a heck of a crash. This isn't like NASCAR, guys. These guys don't have fenders. They touch again.
Look at this. This is lap number 3, and they're teammates.
Well, I think right now, Chip Ganassi and Mark Call will be on the radio saying, come on, guys, calm down now. This is getting a little ridiculous. I know you want to win this championship, but we got to get to the end first.
Sam Hornish right behind him, waiting for the opening to try and go around. They're still going side by side. Will we go 3 wide? Nope, Sam says not right yet. Don't make that upside.
A look of concern and a look of dismay on their face, absolutely.
Right. There's such a thing, guys, as trying to lead the most laps, but you would thought that it would have gotten in line and tried to check out, but we're running side by side every single lap. I would say that the Penske cars are doing a better job of showing patience right now.
Actually, as we look back right now, there's the 55 of Kosuke Masura. You know something, there's a rumor that he might not be secure in his ride next year. So you think about the guys running for the championship up front. They look in their mirrors right now, or Elio looks forward and see Kosuke, and they know he's got nothing to lose. There's no risk for him. He just goes out there and races.
Hey, Doc, what is Chip Ganassi saying on the radio?
Exactly what Rusty commented on a moment ago. He said, you guys have got to get in line. The problem is he didn't say who to go first, so now these guys are staying side by side. He didn't say, Dan, you get in line, or Dixon, you get in line, so they stay side by side. Both these guys want to lead the most laps. Jack.
So what did Roger Penske tell his driver, Sam Hornish, who was watching this unfold in front of him? He said, and I quote, Sam, watch yourself. We've got plenty of laps. Guys?
We are working lap 7 of 200. You can see right now that Sam Hornish is the points leader by 3 based on positions, because Elio Castroneves has dropped back to 6th. He was not happy with qualifying yesterday, and you can see that points as of right now, Dan Weldon would move ahead of Elio into 2nd place. Elio would be all the way down to 3rd.
Marty, this particular track, Chicago, this is the track that most of the drivers are most nervous about. It's a very, very fast speedway with a lot of grip. You talk to all the drivers and think, man, we run so fast at this racetrack, and compound that with pressure. Got to win this title. Then compound it with guys that haven't won, who wanted to get out there and make a big deal of it, like Tony Kanaan and Kosuke Matsura, who's up there flying right now. So I'm not feeling good about what I'm seeing right now. These guys are getting really aggressive here.
Look at this on board. I mean, they are literally inches apart.
Well, they can't get away from each other. If somebody could get in the front so they could tuck in, The guy's feeling all the drafts back there, Sam Hornish Jr. right now. He's just waiting for a mistake.
Here's the problem. They both need to lead the most laps for those 3 bonus
and
points.
That's exactly where they're going with that, Marty. You're absolutely right, because 3 points can make a big difference here at the end of the race.
In the meantime, some of the cars that have moved further forward, you mentioned Tony Kanaan a minute ago. Remember, he started back in the 13th position. He has moved up to 5th. There he is on the high side. Koski Matsura right beside him there, right in front of him.
There's one thing I've learned about championships, watching what happened last night in Richmond, Virginia with Tony Stewart. Look, you can't have problems. You can't lay back. You can't be comfortable. In these championship runs, you got to run hard, and Tony's a guy that'll tell you that right now. But these guys are running every single lap like it's the last lap. They're not being patient. And I'll tell you what, Scott, the Penske guys, they can't be patient at all right now.
Well, you know something I said in the opening, you have to find the right amount of aggression and patience right now. And you see what's happening with Elio. He's sort of back in the fold, being a little conservative. And that's when you risk a chance of actually getting taken out by the people that are hungry. And he's got Scott Sharp underneath him, whose last win was actually in Kentucky in 05. You got to be cautious, but you have to be aggressive.
We've got yellow on the racetrack. Looking around, don't see anybody that is immediately off course, but the pace car is coming out.
Marty, we saw him touch a lot of smoke while we were talking right there. We can go back to replay and see what that was in a second here, folks. But a big hit just a little while ago. I think we lost a piece of carbon fiber or something off of one of these cars.
It was the 2 of Thomas Schechter, the 4 of Vitor Meira. So we are under our first caution here on lap number 13. And there is Vitor. I'm looking at the front. No significant damage there. Let's go back and see if we're top of the screen.
Actually 4 wide. Look at this, and the wheels interlock with some great driving between Schechter on the low side and the number 4 of the Lincoln Tech car of Vitor Meira on the top side. Now, the reason for the caution is they do need to have a look at the racetrack. Look at this again. Boy, we saw it Chicago last year with Ryan Briscoe getting caught up and being thrown into the fence, and that's the problem you have. There is a piece of debris right there. It looks like possibly even a mirror, so we'll have to see if that's off of one of the cars that was involved in that. But the most important thing is that they need to find pieces like that, because these tires are very thin. They're slick tires. The thickness is really only the thickness of a quarter, and they really cannot run over any type of debris. And they don't have, I think you guys have inner liners, Rusty, in NASCAR?
I'll tell you what, guy, getting back to it, Scott, those cats just cheated disaster. You know that.
They did.
I mean, they could have interlocked those tires so quick, and we're only 14 laps in this race and already banging tires, 4 wide off of turn 4. I could feel it. It's not looking good, man.
But here's the thing. Not only championship, those guys that are banging wheels, they want to win a race. See, the championship's not in their mind. They want to win because it's important to have the winter season saying, I won this past season.
They don't care about Dan Weldon, Scott Dixon, Hornish. They want to win.
You guys have mentioned the fact that there's the potential for disaster out there, and maybe that's another reason IndyCar officials said, okay, let's get this yellow out, calm these guys down a little bit, because we are so early in this race.
Calm them down. I need to sit down. I've been standing up the whole time. I'm going crazy. Everybody in the grandstands are flipping out. This race is unbelievable, man. They're flying out there. We have pit stops now.
So pit lane is open, and it looks like the majority of the teams are going to take advantage of it on lap number 13. Jerry Punch coming your way.
And Marty, the top 2 cars on your screen, Weldon and Dixon, will take fuel only. The Target Ganassi teammates, first Dixon in, then Weldon in. They want to get in and out on fuel. They got to get it full. Should only take about 6 or 7 seconds. Jackaroo.
It's going to be a drag. The Ganassi cars beat the Penske cars out. They likewise did fuel only. This is what we're going to see, guys, all afternoon. This is high-stakes poker down on pit road, laying tires out. Do you come in? Do you not come in? And everybody's playing their cards very close to the vest.
Well, we should update you after the pit stops. Obviously, the 4 championship contenders came in, but staying out to take the race lead is A.J. Foyt IV. You're saying, wait a minute, what's he doing here? Well, he took over for the injured Dario Franchitti. He suffered a concussion last week over in a vintage car race over in England. And there is A.J. IV right now leading here as you take a look at the ethanol pit exit cam, and there's Dan Weldon beating his teammate. As we go side by side, you won't miss a thing here at Chicagoland. The great thing about side by side, you did not miss the restart, as it is now Dan Weldon leading his teammate Scott Dixon with Sam Hornish in third. A.J. Foyt restarted on the lead, but he has dropped back to fifth. And you're saying, what happened to Helio Castroneves? There he is, trying to fight his way back. He is currently in 13th position, and he got a black flag, guys.
And that was a speeding violation coming into the pits during that last pit stop. 60 miles an hour. You have to be below 60. He was above it, so he gets to the back of the line on the restart. Now he has to be very cautious to get all the way through the people that he has to pass. Make sure he does not get hit and be taken out.
To win a championship, you can't make any mistakes whatsoever. He was concerned about qualifying fourth, but guess what? He's starting 19th now, tailback, but he's worked himself up to 13th, so he's rock and rolling towards the front right now, but a mistake can't have this, guys.
Jack Arute, you've got more?
Well, fellas, remember that these crew members and crew chiefs are sports fans. Last night, Cindric watched the Iowa-Syracuse game. Remember, that was the game that was on ESPN that went into double overtime. On a handful of occasions, Syracuse had the opportunity to get the ball into the end zone from the 1-yard line. When I talked to him before the start of the race, he said, we don't want to be the Syracuse of IndyCar racing today. I feel like we're well into the end zone, but what we need to do is drive it into the end zone. We're well into the red zone, I mean.
All right, thanks, Jack. As we take a look at the updated points right now, Sam Hornish would be the champion with Dan Weldon, Scott Dixon, and Castroneves would drop all the way to fourth.
Well, the Ganassi guys right now are doing what they got to do. They're 1-2, trying to dominate, lead all the laps. It's calmed down a little bit right now, not much. So now we're going to have to see how this thing unfolds, Scott.
Now, we should point out that the points were tied under that scenario, and the tiebreaker, Sam Hornish, would have the tiebreaker.
Most race wins would be actually the next situation. In that case, the Penske's have done a wonderful job this year. They've been so dominant. Matter of fact, their cars have led almost 50% of the laps so far this season. They have been so strong.
On board right now with Dan Weldon. There's the Firestone telemetry.
Well, these cars are running 10,300 RPMs. These guys are going to push the limit all they possibly can on RPMs. Got about 217 miles an hour in a qualifying run. Average laps about 212, 214 around here. 100% throttle. A lot of G-force out here, getting up to about 3.5, 4 on G-force. A lot of load. The drivers will tell you this is one of the fastest tracks they run, so expect a lot of pressure on the drivers' bodies at this track.
The top three are checking out. On fourth place, Tony Kanaan. Remember, he started 13th. Scott Sharp is in fifth. There is Tony Kanaan. Sharp's back in fifth. Then it's Koski Matsura, and Marco Andretti has moved all the way up. There he is at the third car right there. He's moved from 14th all the way up to 7th as we go on board, and he's looking to go under Koski for another position.
Just watch his hands as he rides along. You can see how he's always moving his hands. His right hand's going to the shifter. I love the blue glove on the right and the red glove on the left. Some drivers in the old days actually even used to wear a green boot on the right and a red boot on the left. Gas and brake.
Why'd they do that?
Well, I don't know. You can't even see your feet in one of these cars.
That's what I thought. It's so tight down there. It's unreal. I like that blue glove so so the fans at home can see the shifter hand. See how much is going on there.
We talked about the 10,300 RPMs, Rusty. The Honda motors here, I'm always impressed. These things can be punished all day long going these speeds here. So we see 100% throttle. Again, these guys hardly ever left off, guys and girl. And you see the RPMs, as you mentioned, 10,300 RPM. I just find it amazing that there's very seldom any problems with these engines.
I started to talk about that. We haven't had hardly any problem whatsoever with this Honda engine. This thing's been bulletproof all year long. Very, very reliable.
Helio Castroneves going around Jeff Simmons. That would be for 8th position. If he can get the job done, he's on the high side. Sense of urgency for Castroneves. He knows he has to get back into contention here. And from Jeff's on board, Helio's pulling away.
You know something, I asked Helio a few races ago, who do you most worry about the championship? And he said, you know, my teammate Sam, because he says now after a year or so, I've noticed how much he's matured. He's more patient. He reads the races better. He says, I'm most worried about him. I also asked him, are you sleeping at night? And he said, you know something, I'm not. I'm getting up in the morning and I'm thinking about the championship right away all day long. I really want to win this championship, the first championship for Roger Penske.
Well, one thing we found out from Crystal, Sam's wife, she said, you know, you can tell when Sam's thinking. He's very, very nervous. For 2 days, he has hardly said anything. And driving down here to the racetrack, she said, he was so focused. We didn't even talk the whole way here. He just looked straight out the window. That was it. Not even talking at all.
And there is the gap between first and third. It is Weldon in front of his teammate Scott Dixon, and they are now running in lockstep. So somebody finally got the message that they would go faster if they were in single file. But it's Weldon that's picking up lap after lap in the lead. Sam Hornish is about 0.2 of a second behind.
Well, right now we're only 32 laps in this thing, Scott, out of 200. It's time to be patient right now. The Ganassi guys do what they got to do. They're out front. Weldon, Dixon, they're doing what the boss said to do. Now Hornish, well, he would love to get up there and lead some laps too.
Doc, you've got more on Scott Dixon?
Yeah, a moment ago they told Scott Dixon, you know, and it basically implored to these drivers that you understand now that just leading the most laps will not win the championship. We've got to be smart. We can't be out here running wheel to wheel. You saw what happened a moment ago with Scheckter and Vitor Mira. We can't have that happen. So now Dixon has gotten back in line, and Weldon and Dixon are going to try to do a little teamwork to run 1-2 and hold the Penskes off together.
So the battle continues up front. It is Dan Weldon leading Scott Dixon. Sam Hornish is third. Elio Castroneves has now moved up to seventh. He has gotten around Marco Andretti. So Castroneves is reeling the lead trio in. But right now, it's Dan Weldon who's out front and leading. Does he have enough to win the championship? On board right now with Marco Andretti. Marco just a couple of spots ahead. Take a look there. There is the number 3 of Elio Castroneves. He is on the move, guys, trying to get his way back to the lead pack.
But I'll tell you something, I was watching just as we were away there. I don't think that he can run any faster than the speed he's going right now. He tried to go around the outside of Tony Kanaan. Matter of fact, he even hit on the radio and just said, hey, can you get Tony to help me out here a little bit? He doesn't seem to have the speed out of his car, Rusty. He pulls out of line. He cannot actually push his own air. He has to run in the draft to be able to keep up with the pace right now. Question is he maybe running a little bit leaner on fuel, trying to conserve fuel, and so he can maybe stay out in the track just a little bit longer. Might be a little bit different strategy, maybe a smart strategy.
It very well could be, since he's back in the pack right now. It's time, since he's back in the pack and just can't charge to the front and pass everybody, let's go ahead and save some gas. But with that said, why would he say, get Tony to help me, move over so I can get by? His car was knifing through the pack pretty quick, and all of a sudden it kind of stalled out.
Well, you mentioned that he was asking for some help. Remember, these guys used to be teammates. Tony Kanaan and Elio Castroneves back in the late 90s on the Indy Light Series. Here's what transpired on the radio a few laps ago. He asked for the help. Obviously, Tony's having none of it. Remember, in 1997, when they were teammates at Tasman, it was Elio who was leading in the championship chase, went down to the wire. It was Tony Kanaan that ended up taking it from his teammate. Take a look at the points right now. A tie between Sam Hornish Jr. and Dan Weldon, but the tiebreaker would go to Sam.
Boy, that's tight. Unbelievable. How can you be that tight after this many races within 1 point? This race is just amazing. This series has been so tight all year long, Scott. I'm still looking at this in disbelief.
I'll tell you how Weldon has scored a ton of points, guys. This is the 11th race that he has led this year, the most of any drivers. We look down from high above. He has the most bonus points this season, 15-9 for Hornish. It means he's led the most laps in 5 races this year. He just hasn't been able to seal the deal and get the win.
Oh, he's been so aggressive. He was at the very beginning of the season when he went to Homestead and won the first race for his new team, Target Chip Ganassi. They had just come off a 24-hour win with his teammate Scott Dixon, also Casey Mears winning there for the Target Chip Ganassi team at the Daytona 24 Hours. He looked like a guy that was going to go ahead through the whole season, just start to go on where he finished off last season, but many problems sort of slowed him down. But the pace these guys are running now, guys, 214 miles an hour. It's 2 miles an hour faster than 4th place Scott Sharp. But I do like right now what Sam Hornish Jr. is doing. He's sitting back there, probably saving a lot of fuel right now. I like his strategy. If that's what he's doing, I'm sure he is. Just fueling back and running lean, saving fuel.
Jack, what is Roger Penske talking about in his pit?
Well, Roger Penske preached to us and preached to his drivers before the race that he thought this was going to be a fuel strategy event. And what he meant by that, and we certainly saw it during that brief caution period, you're going to want to take one of your cars out of sequence. And he's not because of track position, but because of the fact that you may have to conserve fuel at the end of the race. Now, before the race, fellas, I asked Sam Hornish in the 6th, what did he learn from his previous 2 championships? Without any equivocation, he said, I learned how to wait. Jerry?
Well, up up in the Target Ganassi pits. Chip Ganassi knows his two drivers are doing exactly what their personality dictates to do. Dan Weldon has all the patience of a lighted fuse. He likes to go after it and attack when they wave the green flag. That's exactly what he has done. Now behind Weldon, his teammate, Scott Dixon, he's known for being very cerebral, very patient. He likes to play the waiting game. And Dixon says it's a long race. I don't need to lead the most laps. I need to win this race, though, and have other guys have trouble. But in order to finish first I got to finish. So Dixon been a little more patient than his teammate, Dan Weldon, here early on.
Let's reset this for you. It is Dan Weldon leading Scott Dixon. Sam Hornish is third. Elio Castroneves, the fourth player in this championship scenario, is currently running in sixth position. And you want to talk about some serious business, guys. Hornish has the fastest lap of the race, 2:15.6 miles an hour. He did it on lap 21. That's 0.3 of a mile an hour faster than he qualified yesterday.
Tells you that they got all the speed of the car. It's trimmed out, probably running real well. Don't forget, though, he's getting the benefit of the draft of those two Target Chip Ganassi cars up front, poking the hole in the air for him, certainly saving a little bit of fuel.
Elio Castroneves right there in front of Ed Carpenter. That's right, Carpenter's up to the 7th spot as you're on board with Marco Andretti. Stay with us. We'll be back after this from our ABC stations. You're watching ESPN on ABC. The Peak Antifreeze Indy 300, presented by Mr. Clean, brought to you by Peak Long Life. The Antifreeze with an advanced organic technology to protect any engine of any make, any model, anytime. Firestone Tires, a tradition of innovation. Castrol GTX, stop sludge in its tracks with Castrol GTX. And Tissot, Swiss watches since 1853. Back here at Chicagoland, that is Marco Andretti pulling down on the apron as he will make a pit stop here as we are working lap number 60 of 200. Now let's go back and take a look at what happened.
Looks like Marco just starts to slow down there a little bit. Notice he was coming slow on the entrance to the pit lane.
So meanwhile, there's a problem there for Marco as he slows down. Let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, guys, it's the young rookie Marco Andretti had a flat right rear. They don't know what caused the problem. Obviously, some debris out on the racetrack. They got that change, and he's in and out. Tough break, guys. He was on a roll. He started 14th. He worked his way all the way up to 6th today.
Well, as we're working lap 63, let's go back and take a look at this, and we'll listen, see what happened.
Looking outside on your corner. Clear again. Outside is clear. Got sun coming inside. There you got Mr. looking inside. Inside, you got Scherzer coming inside. Clear. Coming in. We got a right rear tire flat. We got a right rear tire flat, Marco. Be very, very careful when you get a pit. We need you to pit with a right rear tire flat.
Well, that was an amazing move by a 19-year-old. Drove like a veteran, felt something going on in the car, got off the throttle mid-turn, collected the car, and then actually the telemetry tells the guys in the pit lane that the right rear tire is going down. That's all the 80 MAF channels that are on the race car being back to the pit lane so all those engineers can sit there as they watch and monitor it. A great job, though, by Marco Andretti. You know, a lot of guys would get right out of the throttle and have the back end of that car swing around.
Exactly right. Telemetry really helps these guys much safer in these tires. They knew what's going on. I knew it was early because the cars are scheduled around lap 70. That was only lap 60 when he come down, guys.
All right, here comes our race leader, Dan Weldon. The championship, we've seen so many mistakes occur in pit lane. The pressure is now on the pit crew as he slows down to 60 miles an hour. And he's heading for Dr. Jerry Punch. Doc?
Take a deep breath here, nice and easy. Come in, you're going to come around Mira.
And you hear them talking him on the pit road. That is Barry Wanzer talking his driver, Dan Weldon in. He will count him into the pit to the stop. 4 tires. Remember, they can ill afford a mistake. Miscues have cost this team at least 3 victories on the season. Thus far, it's on the stop. Weldon is away. Jack.
Elio Castroneves likes his race car despite a loose condition as they will take on the fuel Firestone Firehawk tires. Running in the 4th position before he came under green flag. He is back, boys, with a vengeance.
So about 52 laps is what we're seeing here between pit stops as Elio comes back out onto the racetrack. The lead now belongs to Scott Dixon, and here comes Sam Hornish as he has peeled off. Jack?
Remember, these are the largest pit boxes in IndyCar racing, 50 feet long, so there should be no trouble getting in and out. For Sam Hornish Jr., it is now up to his crew. The thing that makes racing so unique is now the driver leaves it to the hands of his support personnel. They have made no changes on the car. It seems to me, guys, like it took a very long time to take on fuel. Jerry?
As they wait on Scott Dixon to make his stop, remember it was an air jack malfunction at Sonoma that cost Scott Dixon a possible win. Hopefully they'll have a flawless stop here. His teammate in and off of pit road in less than 8.5 seconds. 4 tires on. No adjustments on the front wing. Get it full of fuel. Hold, hold, hold. And now he's out of the way in just over 8 seconds.
So Scott Dixon able to stay out the longest. He had 2 laps in hand over Elio Castroneves and Dan Weldon, his teammate. So advantage right now as far as fuel economy, Scott Dixon.
Because he's running second right behind Dan Weldon, so he turns around and ends up saving a little bit of fuel. He had a little bit of a draft going through there, Danny Weldon did. But interesting to see, the only guy to make a change in the car, though, Rusty, was Danny Weldon. Just a little bit of a front wing change.
Yeah, they're real good right now. You know, I really thought they're going to make it like 60. Scott Dixon pitted 68, so guys, we got pretty close with that. But one thing's for sure, they're running full rich. They're making all the horsepower they can. They're driving hard. And pit stops are done right now, see if this thing shakes out. But no mistakes. I didn't see anybody making mistakes on pit road that time. And that's what they got to do.
Guess what has happened after this second round here at the pit stops? Dan Weldon, Sam Hornish, Scott Dixon, Elio Castroneves running first, second, third, and fourth. This championship is going to the wire. Dan Weldon right now out in front. Can he hold on? The others are hot in pursuit. And back here at Chicagoland Speedway, this championship battle has lived up to absolutely everything that we anticipated. As you can see, Dan Weldon, Sam Hornish, Scott Dixon, they are basically running nose to tail. Let's get you up to speed on the championship chase. Jerry Punch, you're up.
Well, Marty Rating Series champion Dan Weldon picking up where he left off a year ago when he came here and dominated, leading 88 laps to win at Chicagoland. Now, he has dominated the early part of this race. On that previous stop, they came in and added around a front wing to try to correct an understeer or push situation. The car handling much better with the added front wing. Jack.
Well, obviously the man in second place, the meat and the Ganassi sandwich, is Sam Hornish Jr. He likes the way his car is running. He is playing it fairly conservatively, following the advice of the man that calls the shots for him and the car runner who told him, Sam, play it cool to the last 30 laps. Doc?
Well, Jack, conservative is Scott Dixon's middle name. The conservation in that first stint allowed him to go 2 laps further than his teammate on fuel. Remember that as the race progresses. Better fuel mileage for Scott Dixon sitting back in the draft. No changes whatsoever on his pit stop. He likes the way the car is handling right now as we are approaching 100 laps. Jack.
Well, for Elio Castroneves, we have followed both the best of times and the worst of times in the early going of this race. Remember, he started up front and then faded. He had to go all the way to the back of the pack. But then, with good pit stops and some hard work by his team and some hard driving by him, there he is. And believe it or not, gentlemen, he has moved into the 4th position. He is fairly far back. But if we've learned one thing about Chicago, it all can change in a heartbeat.
He has basically done everything he can until he gets a yellow. He's 12.5 seconds back, which is about a half a lap. And take a look, points as of now. Sam Hornish would be your champion. Weldon second by 5. Elio 7 markers back. Dixon would round out the top 4.
Amazing that things can change so quickly. And remember, we're only not even halfway in this event right now. Still a lot of strategy to play out. You got to try and figure out when your next fuel stop will come. Will you make changes to the race car? You have to be thinking to make my car better for the end of the race. That's what you have to work on right now. I guarantee you it will come to a shootout, not only the last lap, but also coming out of the last couple of turns and a run down to the start and finish line.
You know it's going to come to a shootout. There's no doubt about that, Scott. It's a caution play. It's going to shake this whole thing up and box them all back up together. together. And Elio Castroneves, he's not out of this thing at all. He's in fourth. He's way back right now. But boy, a caution will change everything.
One of the things that surprises me, look at the car on the left side of the screen there. That is Vitor Mira, 13th place. And he is about ready to be put a lap down. That's right. These guys are flying around this track 215 miles an hour. And a guy who we thought might play the role of spoiler is about to be a lap down.
Yeah, this is really uncharacteristic of Vitor Mira. Vitor is really, really fast all year long. Definitely got a handling issue or something like that because he's been one of the quickest guys out there. Doc, you got more?
Yeah, exactly, Rusty. You're right on, buddy. The handling is just going away on Vitor Mira's car, the Lincoln Tech machine. Remember he had that contact with Thomas Scheckter early on, and it impacted the left rear tire. Then they brought Vitor Mira on pit road twice, and they put a lot of front wing in the car, but apparently it isn't making much difference. He's really got a handful on the racetrack, as evidenced by the fact that he's about to go a lap down.
Well, the one thing that always concerns me when two cars touch each other is that did they do some type of damage so early in the race? Will that end up being a situation later on where maybe a part starts to fatigue and then ends up breaking? And the driver always wonders about that when you're sitting in the car, Rusty, because man, when you start going around racetracks like this at this speed, as these guys start to wind through traffic, sometimes it plays in your mind.
Well, that was an incredible hit early. Something had to get hurt in the suspension, I would think, is a big hit they took, Scott.
All right, take a look at all this traffic because this is the one thing that both team owners, Roger Penske and Chip Ganassi, don't want their cars involved in.
You have to be patient. We talked about finding the right balance between aggression and patience. Now, all these drivers know that there's the leaders coming up behind them because the spotters are letting them know. As you see the number 2 of Thomas Scheckter, the Rockin' Republic car on the bottom side. Spotter information coming to them. Dan gets through there cleanly. A nice professional move by Thomas. He's not in this fight.
And that's 10th place that just got lapped, guys. Scheckter, Mira, Koski Matsura, and Buddy Rice in that quick of a span have all been put a lap down.
Well, that's what happens when you get green flag pit stop. These top 4 guys are just up there flying around this racetrack. No caution flags yet. And man, if you're not game on, Marty, and these guys are because they know they have to be to win this title, they're going to put it on them. Now, Danica Patrick, she's in 9th place, but she just went a lap down.
She's the next victim in line. There you are on board with Danica.
Outside with Scheckter. Still outside with Scheckter. Keep the bottom. Make him work for it. Outside with Scheckter. Outside, outside. You got Vitor coming on outside too. You got 2 outside. Outside, Scheckter and Vitor. Vitor's out. Vitor.
You saw Scott Dixon there, and Dixon is 3rd place going around Danica Patrick. Jamie, what's the report on Danica?
Well, guys, Danica Patrick, this is her last race with Rahal Letterman Racing, and she wants it to count. She wants to get that elusive first victory. She has a car with her hands full right now, but she told me ever since she announced that she's going to Andretti Green Racing, things in the team, they've been a little tense, and they're not treating her the same. So she said, you know, I'm going to go out, I want to do my best, I want to get a win, but I'm excited about looking ahead, looking forward, and on Tuesday she's going to unveil her new sponsors that she'll be running with Andretti Green Racing next year. It's been a good long road with she and Bobby Rahal. He brought her to America, brought her to this series. She was with him for 4 years, so I would imagine there would be some feelings hurt there, guys.
Yeah, it has been a bit frosty the last couple of days in that camp, but they'll both move on to next year. Right now, we're moving on as we're getting ready to go side by side. That's the battle up front. Dan Weldon in front of Sam Hornish. Hornish, if he ended right now, he would win the championship. Sam Hornish in 2nd place. Scott Dixon's 3rd. Elio Castroneves in 4th. Back here at Chicagoland Speedway at the Peak Antifreeze Indy 300. Let's get you caught up if you're just tuning in. At the start of the race, Team Ganassi, very aggressive, but they were fighting with each other side by side. For Sam Hornish, he's done exactly what he's needed to do. Run a very steady, consistent race. He's never been outside the top 3. Elio Castroneves had a drive-through penalty for speeding in pit lane, but he has fought his way back. He's now running in 4th place. And Marco Andretti had fought his way all the way up to 6th, but then that right rear tire went down on him. He safely got it to pit lane, but he is now a lap down in 14th. In fact, as we come back to the action live at Chicagoland, you're looking at Dan Weldon in front of Sam Hornish. Scott Dixon is 0.6 of a second behind, and then Elio Castroneves is 4th. And we have reached past the halfway mark, so this race is now official. So let's talk a little bit about winning. Dan Weldon is the man we're talking to.
For me personally, I don't care if I come 2nd, 3rd or 4th because no one remembers it. You know, like you don't see who came second in your media guide. And for me personally, it's not like I'm going to remember. In 2004, I came second. Do I remember that season? No, not really. I mean, do I remember 2005 when I won? Absolutely.
Well, there is one other statistic we can pass along that is very significant. Dan Wheldon, in another 6 laps, will have clinched the 3-point bonus for leading the most laps of this race. That's how fast this thing is flying by.
This thing is flying by, and Dan Wheldon doing that, Marty, doesn't surprise me at all. If you remember back to the Indianapolis 500, he dominated that race, only to have a tire problem, a pit stop problem, something like that during the race. This has happened to him several times where he looked like he's got it wrapped up, he's dominated the race, only to have a last-minute problem. So the guys went through a lot of struggles, but I got to tell you, I think that he's been one of the fastest all year long.
Today's speed right now, the average is 198 and change. If that holds up, it would be the second fastest race in IndyCar Series history, and it would be 7 out of 13 races so far this year that we've set new race records. These guys have been flying all over the country.
Well, you say flying, Marty. This group right now that we're looking at with Dan Wheldon leading, just up ahead of them is another group of cars, and that group includes the 6th place car of Tony Kanaan. So these 3 drivers right now are setting their sights on that group just further ahead, and they're going to be going around very shortly the 6th place running car of Tony Kanaan. That tells you how fast they're going.
And you saw the fastest lap, our Capital One fastest lap, going to Sam Hornish at 216.7 miles an hour. There are 3 cars that have run over 216 and change. Guess what? They're the top 3 running right now. Jack, you've got more on Sam?
Yeah, he's not at all concerned about the fast laps, guys, and nor is his team concerned about leading laps. In fact, just a lap ago, Roger Penske again cautioned his driver, saying, "We do not care about laps led, Sam. What we care about is the last lap."
Right now, he stays in that 2nd position, right on the back end of Dan Wheldon's. Doc, you've got more on Dan?
Well, guys, a moment ago they asked Dan Wheldon, how is the car? He said, guys, it's a little bit too draggy entering the corners. It just tends to drag into the corners. I really think we need to free this thing up a little bit. Now, my question to Rusty and Scott, if you're watching how well Dan is running, how much do you want to free a car up like that, knowing how this track is going to change in the final 100 laps?
Well, Scott, Dan's the only fellow that knows what his car's handle line and what he can stand. If he feels like he can free that car up a little, make it go faster and still handle well, then they're going to make the change and try it.
Underneath him right now, Sam Hornish is starting to have a look, but they're coming up to those cars that are up in front, the cars that they're trying to put another lap down. The leader of that pack right there, the green and white car, the 11 car of Tony Kanaan. Now, Wheldon ends up making the right move, being on the high side and starting to go around all the cars that are being cautious, staying on the low side. They don't want to interrupt the flow of the race because those guys they know are running for the championship.
You know, the top side of the racetrack always seems the easiest place not to get yourself boxed in, Scott. Every time they get on the bottom, they get locked down there, can't make any momentum. On the top side of the track, got a lot of room up there, got a lot of momentum. That car runs faster on the top side sometimes when you get boxed up, so I like it that Dan Wheldon chose that top lane.
And they just put Tony Kanaan down a lap. That amazes me that he's running in 6th, as strong as he is.
And that means we have 5 cars on the lead lap. That's right. It's Wheldon, Hornish, Dixon, Castroneves in 4th, and Scott Sharp is the only other car on the lead lap. And we can tell you now, it is official. Dan Wheldon clinches the 3 bonus points for leading the most laps.
So he's done all he can do right now as far as that. He's just got to win the race now. He can get out of this thing and saying, guys, I gave it my all. I did all I possibly could to win this championship.
Well, the instructions from Chip Ganassi were, we're not going to win the championship. I want to win this race.
Take a look at the points as of now. It would be Hornish by 5 over Wheldon, 7 over Castroneves, Dixon a distant 4th. Let's check in, speaking of Sam, check in on some of the radio conversation with Roger Penske just a few moments ago.
Okay, we don't worry about laps led here. We worry about finishing 2nd and 3rd here. That's all we got to worry about. Use our heads.
He's such a smooth guy, Roger Penske is. He really sends a lot of comfort to you. When I drove for Roger in the stock cars, we always talked a lot. He was the guy that when you get all wound up and concerned, he was the calming factor. Let's think about this, guys. And as he just told Sam, Sam has been unable to lead the most laps, unable to dominate, but they can't shake him either. I got a feeling he's got a really fast car if he got out in front. I think he could maybe pull away from Dan just a little bit, but he's doing what he's got. He's keeping that thing in line, and Penske keeps reminding him of it.
I think he's sitting back, just getting a read on the car in front like he's always so good at doing. He's won here at Chicago twice before, had 2 of the closest out of 3 finishes in history here, and here comes Danny Weldon in for the pit stop.
So our race leader peels off here on lap number 115, and there is Helio Castroneves as well. Jack?
Helio Castroneves will come all the way down in front of Dan Weldon to start his pit stop. No changes again on the driver who is currently being posted before this stop in 4th spot. They're going to take on the fuel. You can see it takes longer for the fuel to change tires. Doc.
And Dan Weldon, the leader on pit road. They are making an air pressure adjustment. He is down and away in less than 9 seconds. Remember, he said he wanted to free it up. That's what they've done with some air pressure on this stop for Dan Weldon.
So about 48 laps instead of the 52 we saw on the first cycle.
Very interesting. They've got to be using maximum fuel then to make sure they keep running the pace that they're doing. They are setting this torrid pace right now. But I'm sure Andy Brown has come up with a situation, making some tire pressure changes on the 10 car for Danny Weldon. Andy Brown being the engineer. A lot of thought going in with all the engineers up and down pit lane right now to try and make those cars go faster during the next stop.
And this is your battle for the race lead now, and Sam Hornish is going to duck down below the line, so he'll surrender the lead over to Scott Dixon. And again, Dixon has the best fuel economy of the top 4 in the championship chase. So as Sam comes into pit lane, we'll send it to Jack Arute.
Remember, it's a very calm Sam Hornish that is at the keyboard of this Team Penske car, which, by the way, guys, is carrying the for the last time. They will stay red and white next year, but they will be just named Team Penske. Hornish hopes to come back as the national champion. Now, he made the call not to go with sticker tires. Instead, he put on scuffs. Here, watch me, and he gets the go. Going back up to speed, trying to chase down his teammate, Helio Castroneves.
And meanwhile, Scott Dixon continues out there. It's been 51 laps since his last stop, guys. He has definitely got great fuel economy.
Well, we've seen that so many times from Scott Dixon, such a smart driver. As Doc was saying a little earlier, very conservative, very thoughtful out there, but he's always running behind the group and saving fuel. Maybe that's a great strategy these guys are running right now.
Well, he's out there all alone right now. As shown in second place is Buddy Rice. As here comes Scott, as he finally pulls out. It's been 52 laps. Again, exactly what he was able to run before as he makes his stop here on lap 121.
Just on this box. We're open down here.
Let's send it to Jerry Punch.
You'll be on your left.
All right, as you watch Scott Dixon make his way down, keep an eye on Ricky Davis. He is the right front tire changer. That's Ricky waving him in. Now Ricky will be on his knees. Dixon will stop, and there brings the car to a halt. Now Ricky Davis will put his right front tire on, and he will hold Dixon until it is full of fuel. Watch him hold. Got to get it full. Get it out of the way. And Dixon's pit stop is complete.
So 8.6 seconds, a great stop.
This is unbelievable. Both Penske cars had a 10.2 second stop. Both Ganassi cars 8.6 second stops. Can you imagine that?
Well,
my
question might be the Penske putting in a full load of fuel. Maybe the Target cars putting in a little bit less amount of fuel.
I don't think so. I think he just got beat. And you watch Dan Weldon run down Hornish as we're blending out in the back straight and went right past him, but Hornish is hooked up on his tail again now. They're lockstep coming down the front straightaway.
And that is the battle for the race lead. It is Dan Weldon in front of Sam Hornish. Dixon is shown in third. Helio Castroneves in fourth. They're the only 4 cars on the lead lap as we go side by side. Back here at Chicagoland Speedway, you're looking at the battle for the race lead. Dan Weldon and Sam Hornish. Here is our TISO lap leaders. As you can see, Dan Weldon has clinched the 3 bonus points. A.J. Foyt the 4th. That is the first laps he's led in his IndyCar career. Remember, he's substituting for the injured Dario Franchitti for Team Andretti Green.
Very talented young driver. I'll tell you, I always liked him when he was driving for his team, family team, and I always said he had a lot of talent, maybe just didn't have the best set of wheels underneath him. And I said to Michael Andretti the other day, you know, about AJ the 4th, and he said, you know, we've had our eye on him for such a long time. Sort of makes you wonder if that might be a consideration for sitting in that seat next year. in replace of Dario Franchitti.
Michael Andretti must have been paying a lot of attention to A.J. Foyt and really saw something of him, like you said. You know, he's been very, very fast in everything he's drove in. You know, guys, those last pit stops, I was watching all this, and both Ganassi cars beat both Penske cars in a pit stop. I know Roger's always fuel conscious about getting enough fuel in that car. And, you know, it looked like from up here, guys, he's been very, very deliberate on that fueling. Jack, have you noticed the same thing down there?
Yeah, Rusty. In fact, remember during the course of the season, Penske's operation uncharacteristically has suffered some fueling challenges, not being able to get it seated properly, pulling away a little too soon. I think when you look at Roger Penske and the wealth of experience he has in championship chases, this is a team that I noticed in their stops, both for Castroneves and for Hornish, have been very deliberate in everything they do. That's the difference. Let's say 10 seconds and 8 seconds. And right now, I think that's discretion and certainly the better part of valor.
Well, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm smelling some fuel stuff going on right here, Scott. I mean, these guys have lined up. They've spread this race out a little bit. They're running really fast, but it's definitely going to come down to strategy. I can feel it, and something's going on with Penske, how much time he's spending in the pits doing that.
All right, let's take a look at this right now, and here's the championship scenario because it's starting to come into clearer focus. Since Weldon clinched the bonus points for leading the most laps, if he wins the race, Sam Hornish must finish second or third to win the championship. If he finishes fourth and Weldon is up front, it's Weldon's.
Well, you know, Hornish just got to stay in lockstep and stay there. They need a, like I said, need a caution for Elliott to get back in this game. He's got to get caught back up right now. He's got a fast car. Look, Scott, he's running 215.5 miles per hour. The other guys are right at 216, but that's all because of the draft.
Well, and he's running by himself, and he's pushing his own air, and that's a big problem for him right now. He's only 5 seconds ahead of these two that we're looking at right now, Weldon and Hornish, and they're running, like you said, nose to tail. They're going to catch up to him and maybe put him a lap down. Then he's in thick soup.
Jack, you've got more?
Well, a little bit of a humorous situation that occurred during driver introductions. They asked all 4 of the championship contenders to step forward and be recognized. They instructed all of them of that, and Sam Hornish said to me, he said, this is my opportunity. What if I lay back and rush forward with my arms outstretched and they fall into the mosh pit? I could sit there and go, my bad.
I don't think he has to worry about that right now. All he has to worry about is just staying on the back fender, or that wing of the number 10 car, and he can clinch the championship.
That would be his 3rd championship. It'd just be amazing. He's led more laps in this series than anybody else. He's led, coming into this event, 3,165 laps. The record for most consecutive laps led in a single race, which is always very impressive, 212 at Richmond in 2006. And the leader, obviously, with 18 races won in this series. Very impressive.
You know, Scotty, kind of unrelated, one thing I've been looking out there, it's really bothered me that we had that caution early in the race, and I saw that mirror fall off of somebody's car, and it's laying off of turn 4. I've been having to look, and they finally found it. It's Marty Ross' car. They got that thing taped on that right side with yellow tape. So finally, I got a little relief here, man.
Let's talk about the race average, guys. We've only had 1 caution. It is now up over 200 miles an hour. The fastest race average ever was 2003 at Fontana at 207 and change. Guess who the winner was of that one? A guy by the name of Sam Hornish.
Well, don't you think that when these guys are all amped up, you saw the first 10 or 15 laps, this thing, the banging wheels are running side by side. The highest tension, for sure, was when they came into the race. They had their guns loaded. They were ready to take on anybody. And now they've calmed down a little bit, but they're running blistering fast laps. And you'd always think in a championship run, when they're really so aggressive, you'd see cautions and see wrecks. And Scott, we just haven't seen that yet.
I think that you talk about being calm. I think right now probably Sam Hornish has picked up so many hints from Rick Mears over the years of running with that team. It certainly has helped and assisted him.
And take a look at Dixon. He may be 3rd across the line, but he is the fastest, and he is starting to reel him in. And we're waiting to give you an idea just how far back Elio Castroneves is in this chase. And there he is as he crosses the line, and he's only at 213 and change. Jack?
Well, Tim Cindric, trying to push the ball into the goal line, is trying to get his quarterback to be patient. On that last pit stop and during this sequence, they have a car that they like. And what he just told his driver is, look, what we're going to have to do is run as fast as we can and pray for a yellow. From Cindric's perspective, calling the shots for this man, they're going to need a little help to get caught back up with the front. Jerry?
Well, we've already told you that Scott Dixon has been very patient, very cerebral about his shot at the championship, but now it is time to turn up the wick. And even with the speed increase that Dixon is now moving in on Hornish and his teammate Weldon, he is getting great fuel mileage. Right now, Scott Dixon has about a 4-lap advantage in terms of fuel over the 2 cars he's chasing. That could be something to use in his pocket if it came down to a fuel mileage event. Jack.
Hey, guys upstairs, I know, Rusty, you were wondering about those fuel stops. I think I may have just come up with the answer. If you play this thing forward, we're going to come down for Sam Hornish Jr. to a final pit stop with about 23 laps to go. So obviously, in my mind now, what Roger's been doing is packing that 35-gallon tank as full as fuel as possible to stretch it to the end in that final pit stop. And here's the key. With the way these Firestone Firehawk tires are performing, that last stop could be for fuel only and be what we call a time stop. Remember, at 200 miles an hour, every second you gain on pit road is 100 yards out on the racetrack.
Well, it's definitely looking, Jack, like it's coming down to a short fill situation with no tires right at the very end. But how do they know how much fuel to put in that thing? It's not like they can measure it. It's coming out of that tank. It's got to be time, Scott. Is that what it is?
Well, it's a time, and, you know, we've got such technological information coming across here a lot of times. What they end up using sometimes is a light inside the helmet, which, yeah, is sort of technical, but it makes me laugh still today. Sometimes they just get a big stick and whack the fueler either on the shoulder or on the top of the helmet and say, pull the fuel nozzle out, it's time to go. Jack?
Well, guys, it's a little combination of modern technology and good old-fashioned, as Scott Goodyear says, stick technology. A lot of these teams have done a study as far as what the fuel flow is, and they make it based upon how many gallons are left in the tank. So then they know in terms of seconds just how much they need to get in. But then it does boil down to that 98-cent hardware that's called the stick. And I'll be the first to tell you that Team Penske has a stick. But boy, it's a typical Penske stick. It's chrome.
Well, I'll tell you one nervous thing I'm seeing right now, Marty, is Elio Castroneves is going into turn 3. The rest of them are coming off of turn 4. He could get lapped if this thing still keeps going like it is, because now the top 3 are hooked up in the draft, and Elio doesn't have any help.
Yeah, he's 20 seconds behind, so he's actually losing ground. We've got to take a break. We're going to go side by side, and there is the difference as 4th place is close to being put a lap down. It's Dan Weldon in front of Sam Hornish and Scott Dixon. For Sam Hornish, oh, it's been a great year. Will it get even better? Back at Chicagoland Speedway, we are in the window for the final pit stops, and here comes everybody. Only 4 cars on the lead lap. It is the 4 championship contenders. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
And Marty, this could be a $1 million pit stop. The championship could be settled right here on pit road. Weldon, Hornish, and Dixon. They've got to get them full of fuel. They've got to go the final 50 laps here. Who's got the quick stops? Remember, Weldon and Dixon have been awfully quick early on. Jack.
Sam Hornish's car, and he looks as if it's going to be a drag race out of the track. And boy, they came awfully close there, he and Weldon, didn't they?
They certainly did. And it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out, because, as we said, they are all good to go the distance now. As our second yellow came out for debris, you saw it on side-by-side just as we went to the break. It was the break that Elio Castroneves needed. He was out of this championship unless he got this break.
He absolutely had to have that, because about 5 seconds away from being lapped, and if that was the situation, he had no chance whatsoever. And here's the battle that was between the pit crews. A lot of pressure put on these guys to put on 4 tires and 30 gallons of fuel. A little problem with that right rear. With Danny Weldon, or excuse me, with Scott Dixon, loses a spot to Tony Kanaan on the way out.
No, I'll tell you what, Elio Castroneves, he could go out there and kiss that piece of debris that just came out, because we saw it, a big old hunk of rubber or debris or something off of turn 4. Now, here's one question I got. It's been 10.2 second pit stops for the Penske team every single time. Their last stop, 7.2. That beat them out and won that pit stop contest out there.
I think it was fuel. I think they put a full tank of fuel in.
And also, remember that little wiggle as Weldon got on the throttle, that cost him just enough that Sam Hornish beat him to the line. So Hornish is now your race leader. Weldon is in 2nd, Dixon is 3rd, and Elio Castroneves is in 4th.
But Elio has a lot of lap cars in between the 3rd place car of Scott Dixon on the racetrack and getting all the way back to where he's positioned on the track. A lot of those cars that are down a lap, he's going to have to go through all that traffic. There he is there. red and white Marlboro car, the number 3. He's going to have to get through all those cars in the restart to even have a shot at those guys up front.
Jack, you've got more on Elio?
Yeah, we're using all these sports cliches with the opening of NFL weekend and the debut of Monday Night Football tomorrow night. And Tim Cindric loves those sports cliches. When Elio Castroneves came down on the pit road during that yellow, as you guys suspected, he had a smile on his face, and all he told Elio and the crew, we're back in the ball game, boys. We're back in the ball game.
So as we continue under yellow, since you mentioned football, Jack, well, don't forget to join us for the launch of Monday Night Football on ESPN. We've got a special doubleheader. 7 Eastern, the Vikings take on the Redskins in Washington, D.C., and then at 10:15, it's the Chargers taking on the Raiders in Oakland. Both games available in high definition on ESPN HD and in Spanish on ESPN Deportes. Monday Night Football. Right where it should be.
Now, Rusty, this is a little different than NASCAR, because if you were 4th place Sam Hornish, you would follow him behind 3rd place Scott Dixon, and you'd all be on the top side of the racetrack. Here in IndyCar, it's a single file restart, so Elio's got a lot of work to do between the start and maybe just getting up to the back of that lead group. Remember, those 3 guys up front are so fast, they'll probably pull away. Elio probably needs another yellow 10 or 15 laps into this next segment to be able to have a shot getting to those 3 guys.
Yeah, I don't like that rule. I don't like that rule at all. I mean,
spoken like a true driver.
Here's the guys.
There you go.
There's 4 cars in the lead lap, guys. Elio Castroneves in 4th place, but he's marred back about 15 or about 13, 14 cars in the back. It's not like he gets a start right behind, Dixon. He's all the way in the back. So look, he just saved himself from getting lapped.
Right.
He didn't really help himself. Yep. He's still in trouble a little bit.
I was a driver too. I'm going with you, man. I feel for you. I exactly understand what you're saying. If I was him in 4th place, I'd love to be on the tail end of those 3 guys up front and give yourself a shot.
All right, we're on board with Dan Weldon. Take a look at this. This would be the 6th race where he has led the most laps. In the prior 5, he has not won a single one of those races. And here he is right behind Sam Hornish. Now, let's listen in on the radio, because he was asking the team just a little bit ago about the points championship situation.
Hey, if I win and Elio comes 4th, I will come 2nd in the championship, correct? We're looking at it, Dan.
Guys, you just should be tuned in to ABC. We'll keep you posted. Doc, you've got more?
And what Dan basically finished that conversation with is that whatever happens, I've just got to go after Sam right now. I can't wait. I got to try. Only 4 cars in the lead lap. I got to get Sam on the restart and lead and hope something happens, and then we got a shot at the title.
They come out of turn 4 as we go back to green flag racing here at Chicagoland. Hornish and Weldon in a drag race down the front stretch.
And on that high side, Elio Castroneves got not a bad run on the restart, trying to get as many cars as possible. The best time to get them, because they're all bunched together.
Yeah, but he has got like rush hour traffic in downtown Chicago.
Well, Dan Weldon didn't waste no time. He got around Hornish and is checking out right now, guys. And I tell you, Elio was really flirting with disaster on the high side of turn 2. Right rear tire way up in that gray.
All right, remember the scenario. Weldon needs to win and then have Sam finish 4th or worse to claim the championship. If Sam stays right where he is right now, it's his. Castroneves underneath the 26 of Marco Andretti as he's trying desperately to make up ground. You'd see right now, Castroneves would finish 3rd in the championship, 7 points short.
Now, let's talk about team orders here for a second. Elio is 4th right now on the racetrack. You know nothing's really going to happen to him. You know he's not going to pass Sam Hornish if there's some team orders, but is there ever going to be any team orders coming down the championship?
I can't believe there's going to be any team orders, Scott. These guys all want to win by themselves, and they're just doing what they got to do. You know, Danny Weldon, he doesn't care about that. He just cares about himself right now. Look, if he can help his teammate and not hurt him, yeah, he'll do it.
And a nice move by Tony Kanaan right there, who's a lap down, moves to the high side to let the number 6 of Sam Hornish go on through so he can battle up there for the championship with the 2 Ganassi cars.
Take a look at the championship points as of right now. There is a tie, and the breaker would go to Sam Hornish based on number of wins. Jack, you've got more on Roger Penske?
Well, fellas, I asked the drivers of Roger Penske's mounts and Roger Penske exactly that question. What are the team orders? And I was shocked to find out that there are team orders for this race, but they're not what you or I would suspect them to be. He told both of his drivers before the start of the race he just didn't want them to crash. He said, fellas, there are no orders first versus second, but what's most important is for them to use their heads. So far, I think they're listening to the captain.
I totally believe that. There couldn't be any other orders than do that. Just don't wreck these things, because you know they're driving for themselves right now. Look, one thing I do like to see right now is Elio. He didn't get marred back. He got up there pretty quick, and I'm watching him right now, and he's running those guys down pretty good, so he's definitely not out of this thing now.
He is 2 seconds behind the race leader, and they're the top three, and you'll see Elio coming into view right there.
I spoke to him the other day. I think he's going in his 7th season right now with Team Penske. He says, I want to win this championship. I've won Indy. I want to give these guys a championship. He's got a new engineer on board this year, Ron Rzuski. He said, working real well. Here goes a lot of battling up front between the Ganassi cars. But Elio said, I'm very excited about next year, especially because my engineer and I are working very well together. If we don't win this year, next year looks great also.
Well, what's going on right now up front is good for Elio, because they keep stirring all that air up, enough air that Elio's car can really feel that draft and suck up in that draft, Scott. That's what it takes for him to run these guys down and get back up in this championship hunt.
Elio cut the margin to 1.8 seconds on the last lap. You're right, Rusty. If Dixon and Weldon keep duking it out side by side, Elio's going to pull right back into this. On board with Dan Weldon, you saw the action there behind him as he is the race leader as we are on lap 165 of 200. What I want to talk to both of you guys about, you've been in this situation. What is it like inside your stomach as you're going through this process?
Everything's going wrong. When I won my title a long time ago, I mean, had a lot of points lead coming into it, and everything went wrong. We made a pit stop, the lug nuts came loose. Made another pit stop, they came loose again. Everything started falling apart, and you're just ready to give up. You're not giving up because your crew's hollering at you, don't give up. But this is a very, very tense moment, guys, because we're within just 1 or 2 points of each other right now, and if Hornish messes up, he's going to lose it, and the Ganassi guys aren't doing anything wrong right now.
Well, I mean, anything wrong, but they're running side by side and awfully close to each other. Remember, we saw 2 cars earlier on, Scheckter and Vitor Meira touch, and it damaged the cars, and they're slow. They're off the pace right now. If these 2 Ganassi cars just touch a little bit, knock a wheel out of alignment or a wing out of alignment, the car will be slower and off of pace and basically give the lead and possibly the win and the victory for the championship to Sam Hornish.
And Elio Castroneves has cut his deficit to 1.5 seconds. So the more the 2 Target Ganassi cars go side by side, the closer it brings Elio Castroneves to this 4-man battle.
It's getting better yet now. Now you saw Tony Kanaan get in the bottom. Look at that air. It's all stirred up. That's great for Elio. He's got a big hole of air in the front getting stirred up so he can run him down. Now, let's just stay tuned and watch this one, because you can see him coming in the picture right now. And boy, he can smell it, he can feel it, he can taste it, he wants it.
Jack, you've got more?
Yeah, Marty, Elio Castroneves is making the move up the ladder with some degree of conservatism at stake. He's talked to Tim Cindric, and they both have decided, go ahead and pass cars, get to the front, but the quote was, conserve your tires. And then Cindric added, you'll have plenty of time to race for the lead.
So as we come by the stripe this time by, there will be 30 laps remaining. Dixon and Hornish, Dan Weldon, Elio Castroneves. It is the championship battle, and right now it's Dixon out in front, but Sam Hornish is in control. Scott Dixon fighting hard. Back here at Chicagoland, we could not have scripted a more dramatic close. 23 laps to go. The top 4 in the championship chase are all there on your screen.
Elio Castroneves got a big break, got a big draft where those guys are past each other, drove right up on the bumper, and he's backing this thing 100%. I tell you, this race is heating up. It's getting wild, and I don't know what's going to happen.
It was so impressive because he had to get through the group of cars that were running for positions out there. Kanaan, Sharp, Carpenter, Meira, all those ones, including Simmons. He worked his way through the traffic to put himself back in contention now. A very masterful job by a 2-time Indy 500 winner.
Chip Ganassi's got a tough decision to make right now, because if these 4 cars stay on the lead lap, Scott Dixon cannot win this championship. The only guy that has a chance at it is Dan Weldon, and he has to hope that Sam Hornish finishes 4th.
Well, if the race ends like it's ending right now, but if the rest of them wreck, he might win it by win the championship and win the race. Now, one problem that might be occurring, Tony Kanaan is mad at Elio Castroneves. We heard him earlier saying, hey, this guy's roughing me up. I was just trying to pass him, or he was trying to pass me. And so, and you see Kanaan on the bottom of the racetrack right there. Elio's right up front. I don't know if anything's going to happen there or not, but they're not happy with each other at all.
Take a look at the points as of right now, and the tiebreaker again goes to Sam Hornish Jr. as he has more wins than Dan Weldon. 20 laps to go in the 2006 season.
Now, we talked a little bit about the championship, the 4 guys in the championship. The guy that's hovering around right now is Ed Carpenter. He's a lap down, but he wants to go up there and show that he can pass these guys up front. Remember, he ran so well at Kentucky before he actually went out after a pit stop and spun on the exit lane. He wants to sort of redeem himself and show that he's just as fast as this group that's up front.
Yeah, Ed is 5th right there, the number 20 car, top of your screen, but he is 1 complete lap down, and not sure I'd want to get in the top 4 right now with this championship at stake.
I wouldn't want to be the guy responsible for taking some guys out right now, but on the other hand, he wants to have the best finish he can, but hey guys, he is a lap down.
But he's got that battle going on right now with Kanaan, so I mean, you can't sort of slow up the pace. The only way to maybe keep in front is to start passing people. He's now back behind Kanaan, so Kanaan's got the same thing in mind, but you don't want to disturb this group up front that's running nose to tail. And I said a little while ago, if they do touch, you're going to end up in a situation where you're going to bend something in the car. Right now, those target guys are running so close together, just like this again. Remember, this is 215 miles an hour, and these guys are just less than a foot around. The air from the car beside is moving you around. You're trying to deal with all this, and you're trying to stay in front if you're in Dad Weldon's suit.
Well, you just saw Tony Kanaan shoot around Elio Castroneves, and that didn't help Elio at all, so I don't know what Tony's doing. He is definitely upset and mad. You see Carpenter on top.
And Jeff Simmons on top as well, getting around Elio. So something may be wrong with Elio Castroneves as he has fallen off this lead pace. He has dropped back about 0.4 of a second already. Jack, you've got more on what's going on in Team Penske?
Oh boy, Roger Penske is running this race like a chess match. He keeps telling his driver where his teammate is. He just told Sam Hornish, Elio has dropped back and is out of the hunt for the time being. And then he used the caution, just Sam, stay in line. He's got it all figured out what he needs to do to win this championship with Hornish.
He's in the catbird seat. If he stays in that 3rd position, it doesn't matter what the 2 Target Ganassi cars do up front. And as this time by, we'll have 14 laps to go.
So smart by Penske. That's why he's won 11 previous championships in the kart series and 14 Indy 500s.
But the thing I'm looking at right now, look, I can understand Tony Kanaan, and I can understand Carpenter trying to have a great finish, make a little money, stuff like that. But what's going on right now, they've completely blocked Elio Castroneves out of a chance for a title. They're blocking him back behind him, not on purpose, but Elio just can't pass him, can't get around him. And this is a tough one for Elio right now.
For Elio, the nightmare tonight is going to be that speeding penalty through pit lane that cost him so dearly. For Dan Weldon, he's going to look at this. If it ends right now in a tie, he's going to think about the 5 races where he's led the most laps. Look out as we saw some action going on underneath wheel to wheel. Weldon's nightmare will be all those lost opportunities where he led the most laps but could not seal the deal.
Or coming in, I believe, at Kentucky when he was leading, missed his pit marks and they couldn't get the fuel in the car. He ended up not leading the event out of the pit lane and winning the event and finishing back, costing himself about 17 points. Those are the things that sit with you all winter.
You know, Hornish has made mistakes too, though. That big spin at Indy and also off of turn 2 at Nashville when he clobbered the wall. Lost a lot of points, but he come back from that to be leading this thing right now. So they've all had problems throughout the year.
Yeah, but if he wins the championship, that doesn't count.
It doesn't count because the thing that helped him out is Weldon and everybody else been having problems too.
Meanwhile, you saw the gap now. The top 3 have pulled away. Elio Castroneves, with 10 laps to go next time by, is basically going to play a supporting role. Remember also, he's the only one of the 4 guys that has never won an IndyCar championship.
Well, Sam's just going to keep it in line right now. We got coming up on 9 laps to go in this race. And what Penske's just doing the same thing he always does, talking to his driver, stay calm. Yeah, stay in line, don't do anything. No heroic moves. You know, you can win the race, but you've won it before. You won the big one. You won the Indy 500. Bring us home a championship, man.
Weldon's doing everything he has to do. He can just go out there and win the event, but the rest is not up to him.
Points as of now. And again, the tiebreaker goes to Sam Hornish.
14 races are about to be over here shortly, and it's come down to 2 drivers exactly tied in the points. I've never seen competition this tight in a long, long time.
And a tiebreaker comes down to $1 million at the end of the day. That's worse than missing the lottery by about one number, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what, that cat's going to buy the beer, that's for sure.
Look at the look of concern on Chip Ganassi. He knows right now his drivers are doing all they can, but he needs help. The captain says, I'm in the catbird seat.
Well, as I say, you know, that's not over to the fat lady sings, and Hornish is feeling everything, hearing everything, worried, looking at his temperatures, his RPM. The guys in the pits are looking at the telemetry, making sure nothing's messing up right there. This is the point, Scott. You've been in it, man. I know you have, where you're hearing everything, and it's the closing laps. You're finding problems that aren't in the car.
Oh, you're pushing the throttle down so hard right now, 100% throttle all the way around here, that your foot is actually starting to go numb because you're pushing that pedal so hard you don't want to breathe it whatsoever.
Jack, what's the latest from Team Penske?
Well, fellas, consider this fact that this is a bittersweet day for a lot of these players in this pit crew. 56 full-time employees based in Reading, Pennsylvania. After this race, Roger Penske will consolidate his efforts, and of those 56, 22 have elected not to move to North Carolina. For many, they'll be looking for new jobs, and for others, they'll have just a career full of memories having worked for Roger Penske in Reading.
I think
they touched. Dixon and Weldon bang wheels coming up off of turn 2.
Remember, we spoke about that, getting so close. We saw that before with Mira and Schechter. Bent the cars, and the cars were not as fast after that.
It costs Dixon dearly as he drops a spot. Another piece of the insurance policy just fell into place for Sam Hornish. He's now second. Take another look.
Starting just to get into the turn, starts to bring down, try to stay in the black, and the left front wing just touches the side of the wheel, the right rear wheel of the number 10 of Weldon's car, and that's important because of that end fence on that left front wing of Scott Dixon's car ended up getting to the back of it. It would have sliced the tire for Weldon.
Looked like he was trying to tuck right back in the draft, Scott, just misjudged a little bit and banged that wing.
Well, we saw him earlier this week, actually, in practice yesterday, ended up turning around and taking off the front wing of a car that he was out in practice with because he misjudged also.
Scott Dixon recovered nicely, though. He has gotten back around Sam Hornish. You can see the tire mark on that left front wing plate. Jack, you've got more?
Yeah, Roger Penske saw that about to unfold and just said to his driver, let him go. Let him go.
Yeah, that's what he had to do, had to let him go. We got 2 laps right now, and we're looking at 14 races. All this drama's come down to this, Marty.
Sam Hornish has won 18 races. He's been involved in 11 finishes where he's won, and it's been less of a margin than a second. Can he pull off another win? I don't think he's worried about it. All he needs to do is stay right where he is. If he stays third, the championship is his. For Dan Weldon, he's got to hope something happens here in the last lap. Weldon down the backstretch. Scott Dixon looks to the high side. Now he comes down low through 4. Dan Weldon is going to win the race, but the $1 million and the 3-time champion is Sam Hornish Jr.
Unbelievable, man. Team Penske played they did what they had to do. Ganassi did what they had to do. They both did remarkable jobs, but you know what? There's only one guy who can win the title, and that's the way it worked out, man. Sam Hornish winning the Indy 500, Marty, and the championship pretty strong.
You saw the winner right there, the champion, and there is Dan Weldon. Let's get a word from our championship car owner, Jack Arute.
Roger, congratulations. You win your first IRL IndyCar Series title.
Well, I'll tell you, it was, you know, you could see it out there all day. Just at the end, I didn't want him to get too racy there, but all we had to do, and Elio had that, you know, tough job coming in the pits with the speed, but it was a clean race, lots of good racing, and long year, great season, Indy winner for Sam, but this whole team, we have all these people, our sponsors that support us. I just want to take my hat off to them. And obviously, you guys at ESPN ABC, thanks for doing a great job in this series. And we'll see you back next year.
What does this title mean to Roger Penske and all of his Penske organization?
Well, you know, we came over to IRL to support the Indianapolis 500. I'm sure glad we could do it with a win in this championship this year. It's one we don't have, and when you don't have one, you sure want it.
Roger, you've won so many Indy 500s, and you promised Sam Hornish that if he signed with you, you'd go do everything you could to deliver him a title. You did that. He said he wanted to deliver you a title. Can it get any better than this season?
I guess we're even.
Guys?
Take a look at Sam Hornish, your first ever and only three-time champion in the Indy Racing League, as he takes the title and will collect a $1 million bonus. And for Dan Weldon, he gets his 11th win of the season. Let's check in with Jamie Little in Victory Lane.
Well, I said at the top of the show, Dan Weldon started off with a victory. Now he ends it with a victory. He's getting all unplugged, guys. Lots of wires in there. Dan Weldon, he got here quick. He was driving through puddles of water. Here he is, Dan Weldon victorious. Did what he needed to do. Dan, take us through that race, especially running side by side with your teammate who just tapped you actually with 3 laps to go.
It was a good race. Obviously, it's been a tough year. It's been frustrating, so I wasn't going to let that one slip away. I was pretty aggressive, but you know, sometimes you got to be that way. But I want to thank everybody at Target, Chip Ganassi Racing, and Honda, and you know, Firestone for you know, a good year.
Sum up Penske Racing. They were your guys' biggest competitors. Dan, this year, Penske Racing, your biggest competitors. Sum them up, what they're like to race.
Well, Roger Penske puts together a fantastic organization, and obviously so does Chip. But when you're you know, pushing so hard with the competition between the two teams, and you've got such a quality from Honda, it's difficult to gain an advantage, and I think you could see that. But the two teams are definitely a step ahead of the rest, and that's because of their dedication to winning.
How are you feeling? You're not sounding too good at this point.
No, I'm not, but it was a good way to finish the race nonetheless.
Well, guys, he did what he needed to do. He led the most laps. He took the victory, his second of the year. What a way to end a year with a brand new team for Dan Weldon.
Suffering from the flu all weekend long. Second year in a row. Remember last year, Dan Weldon won the 500, went on to win the championship. You're looking at the man who won this year's 500 and took the championship as well. Listen to the crowd.
You know, Dan Weldon can go home content because he's done everything he could, Marty. He led the most laps. He's won this race. The guy knows in his heart that his team and himself supported everything he needed in the last race. And Hornish, he did it all right, too. He played the cards right. Team Penske really supported this guy throughout the year.
And about ready to see that big check that he's going to get, and that's $1 million bonus for winning the championship. He's already won $2.6 million so far this year between the Indy 500 and also races. So close to $3 million, not a bad payday for the year.
A lot of money, man.
Let's check in with the other part of Penske Racing, Elio Castroneves.
And fellas, you would think he would be disappointed, but the first thing he did when he got out of the car is thank all of his crew members. Boy, that was close. And you got ticketed for speeding. What impact did that have?
Well, I guess I have to agree with the Florida police now. You know, normally I have a lot of tickets. So, it was kind of strange because there was a lot of guys in the same situation. It was difficult. I have to say that I don't know, but they have the computers. They know what it is. And again, this is awesome. What a dream for a team. Finish first and second in the championship. That's what every team would like to have and wish to have, and we finish. I would like to be. I'm the one to be in the champion, but in the end of the day, it's an entire moral team pace. So well done, guys. Well done, Sam. And hey, 2007, it's going to have much more.
You're going to have an opportunity to sit down privately without us listening in or anybody and have a chat with the new champion. What are you going to say to your teammate?
I want to give him congrats. I mean, no question about he's one of the best driver novel that I know, racing at least with me. And no question, he proving, you know, even that we have road course this year, he learned a lot. He came a long way. He deserved it. I'll give all the credit. He made me better as well. I mean, today we seen first and second. It's about one pushing another.
Yeah, he told me yesterday that you have made him a better driver. How has he made you a better driver?
With those ovals, let me tell you, first time I remember was kind of hard. I didn't know about the drafting. It's still a learning process, you know. And but hey, we had Ganassi seemed to be a little bit faster than us this race. We had a lot of victory this year, and you know what? Motor Team Penske, fantastic team. I'm very honored to be proud to be part of this organization.
Guys. All right, thanks, Jack. A very class act, Elio Castroneves. Maybe next year, as there is the Cup. I don't think you want to lift that sucker. It is awfully heavy. Take a look at our final results here at the Peak Antifreeze Indy 300. Only 4 cars on the lead lap. And let's start giving some props to, obviously we had to focus on the championship, but what a great run for Ed Carpenter.
Ed Carpenter, best finish for him. You know, for him to be able up there and running as strong as he was. He really struggles on road courses. He's done a great job learning on ovals in these big cars with the big horsepower, and I think that he'll be in more contention next year. Great kudos for him.
Vitor Mir, we've talked about Vitor Mir all year long, how strong he's been. And Tony Kanata, a great race for Tony today. Danica Patrick, we're looking at her in 12th place. Koski Masur always starts out strong, seems to fall a little bit. Hey, AJ Foyt to 4th, finished 14th, not a bad run for him. See Sarah Fisher back up there in 16th. Marco Andretti, we expect a lot more out of him, but he lost that right rear tire halfway through the race, Scott.
Our race average 194.8 miles an hour, the 3rd fastest race in series history. And of course, when we come back, we will talk to the champion, Sam Hornish. He's $1 million richer. We'll be back after this from our ABC stations. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Back here at Chicagoland Speedway, the crowd on their feet as we get ready to crown a champion. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, thank you very much, Marty. We are down here center stage at Chicagoland Speedway, where we are about to begin the IndyCar Series 2006 Championship celebration. Now let's present the man of the hour, 27-year-old driver from Defiance, Ohio. Please welcome Sam Hornish, your new champion. And Sam, congratulations on becoming the first and only 3-time IndyCar champion. Share with us, what is the emotion of winning this title today?
This is just about as excited, I think, as I've ever been. It's been a great day for us and a great year. And winning the 500, you know, is definitely the highlight of my career, but this is right close to there. The first 2 kind of came a little bit easier than this one seemed to, and it's been a couple years in between, so it made me appreciate it some more. So I'm just super excited about the way that we were able to win this today, and hopefully we'll go back and try to get another one next year.
When you reflect back on this year, what will you remember most and maybe cherish most about this 3rd title?
Winning Indy being part of it is definitely the biggest part of this, and I just can't believe it. I mean, it's been an unbelievable season. You know, we really just stuck in there, worked hard. All the guys on the team worked really hard to make sure that we always, you know, we're trying to be competitive over the past couple of seasons when we didn't have quite everything we needed to win. Now that we had it, we had to go out there, prove that, you know, we weren't just talking. We had to go out there and show what we could do, and we were able to do that today.
Well, the man who made it possible for you, you talk about sports dynasties, you talk about the Yankees in baseball and possibly the Celtics or the Cowboys. Well, in motorsports, there's one name in terms of winning. Please welcome the championship car winner for 2006, Roger Penske. 11 national championships coming into the year, and now Roger, what do you have to say to your driver here for what he has done for you, giving you something you didn't have on the shelf, a championship in the IRL IndyCar Series?
Well, I'll tell you, Jerry, this guy's some driver, and today was a day of no mistakes, and I think we're even now. He got Indy, and then he got us the IRL championship, so what a great day. Thank you all fans for being here and supporting us. Thanks a million.
What's going through your mind in those final laps today when you know you got 2 drivers who you love dearly out there battling it out? It had to be a lot of mixed emotion.
Well, you never know. I mean, I'm trying to get Sam into the place, and Tim's working on Elio. We just had to stay in line and let those guys pull us. But he got a little racy there at the end. I said, let's get back in line.
All right, Roger Penske, the championship car winner, and our champion, Sam Hornish. Now, please welcome for a very special presentation, the president of the Indy Racing League, Mr. Brian Barnhart. A very special presentation here for these winning championship owner and driver, as well as the Indy Racing League Championship Cup. Brian?
Thanks, Jerry. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd certainly like to thank the fans for coming out. It was an outstanding season. Congratulate Target, Chip Ganassi Racing. Dan Weldon did all he could in winning the race, and all the other competitors as well. But a special congratulations to Marlboro Team Penske, Roger and Sam. A championship well deserved. Congratulations.
And we'll let these three walk up here and get a photograph. It has been a long time coming for Roger Penske. He has not had an IRL IndyCar title until today. And what a year for Sam Hornish on the final turn of the final lap at the Indianapolis 500. He pulls it off and realizes a dream of winning on Memorial Day weekend. And today, he gives the captain, Roger Penske, his first IRL IndyCar title. Guys?
All right, thanks, Jerry, as the celebration will continue long into the night. And congratulations to Roger Penske. There's Tim Cindric coming over to talk to Sam Hornish as they will dissect the race long into the evening. And we still have a lot more to do here at Chicagoland Speedway. There's the celebration. We'll take a commercial break. We'll be back with a lot more here at Chicagoland Speedway as this party is just beginning. Back at Chicagoland Speedway as you take a look at the Cup, the $1 million check. Let's take a look at the top 10 final point standings. Sam Hornish Jr. wins the championship courtesy of more victories than Dan Weldon. Castro Neves, Scott Dixon round out the top 4. In fact, Jack Arute is with the 4th place finisher.
Well, Scott, looking back on the entire season, is there one turning point that kept you out of the championship in your mind?
No, not at all. I think there's plenty for all 4 of us guys, so you know you can't pin it on one. I mean, I think everybody had it fairly, and to be honest, I think the best guy did win. So you know, congrats to Sam and Penske. They did a great job all year, and you know, hopefully we can turn the tables next year and try and beat them.
When you take a look at this season, there was certainly Dan Weldon comes on as a new teammate for you. What do you think is different about Target Chip Ganassi this year versus the previous years that you've been with this organization?
It's pretty simple. I think you know, we had even equipment, and when this team has even equipment, they definitely they show up pretty big. And it's like Penske. You know, now that the teams are using the same equipment, they've jumped leapfrogs ahead of the others. So you know, hopefully next year will stay the same. We just have to keep working hard over the winter, but you know, the biggest changes have been obviously the engine and the chassis.
Close quarters there the last couple of laps. What happened?
I don't know, man. I was trying to race side by side like we were all day, and Dan seemed to have a problem with that, so whatever.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks, man.
So we've heard from the top 4 as Dan Weldon after the race gave a thumbs up to the new champion, and he saluted the race winner. Stay with us. We're coming right back. At Chicagoland Speedway, the celebration continues as we take another look at the championship final point standings. Nothing really changed. Vitor Meira, Tony Kanaan, they stayed 5th and 6th. The rookie Marco Andretti clinched the crown with his big win, of course, at Sonoma. And rounding out the top 10, Dario Franchitti, Danica Patrick, and Thomas Scheckter. And Sam Hornish, of course, wins on the tiebreaker over Dan Weldon. And there is the champagne as it is flowing. And I think Dr. Jerry Punch is still down there, and I think he's going to need a shower after this one. Well, the tradition in Victory Lane is the hat dance, and now everybody will change again as the celebration continues here at Chicagoland Speedway. We've got a great closing segment for you. You don't want to miss it. There's Sam burning the hides to the ground. Back at Chicagoland Speedway, time for some final thoughts. Rusty?
Yeah, Marty, I got to tell you, it's been an unbelievable season. I've had a great time with my first season calling the IndyCar Series with you guys. I'm looking forward to the banquet in Indianapolis tomorrow night, seeing everybody in the check presentation to Sam Hornish at that banquet. And what a dramatic year, Scott. Just unbelievable things.
Very impressive. The most competitive series anywhere in the world, I think, in 14 races, 9 victories, 9 poles by Penske. Very much a dominating year.
For our entire crew, I'm Marty Reed. Thanks for joining us as we say farewell for 06.